Thank you, Madam Speaker. This is indeed a momentous day. The resignation of a former Prime Minister from the Parliament in the House is a day that all of us will remember. We're all here, Kevin. We'll all remember being here when you resigned from this Parliament. A Parliament in which, as the Prime Minister has said, you have had a leading and often decisive role for so many years. You have been a leader in Australia, a leader of Australia, a formidable leader, the leader of the Labor Party that defeated John Howard in an election campaign that all of us who participated in it remember was in effect a presidential campaign for you. All of my colleagues who campaigned in that election remember we'd go from one electorate to another. There'd be one or two corflutes of the Labor candidate and then hundreds of Kevin Rudd. It was a presidential campaign. It was Kevin Rudd's victory in 2007. And when you became Prime Minister, there were quite a few things that we disagreed about, as you know. But your apology to the stolen generation is, as the Prime Minister tonight has said, one of those signal moments, one of those moments when a leader is able, with his imagination, to capture the tenor of the times and make a mark in history, a mark that will never be erased. All of your other achievements, about which we have differing views, of course, that your colleagues in the Labor Party have spoken so warmly tonight, the global financial crisis, the national broadband network and others, all of those will pass into forgetfulness. But that apology to the stolen generation will never be forgotten. It is just one of those marks not in the sand of history, to be blown away or washed away by time, but that is carved into the granite, into the bedrock of history, and that is your achievement. When I was the Leader of the Opposition, you were a formidable and ferocious opponent, and indeed an unforgiving one. And we differed on a number of occasions. We've still occasionally have gentle arguments about your response to the global financial crisis, where I still believe that, with the benefit of hindsight, you could have spent less and perhaps spent it more wisely. But these are details for tonight. What I want to speak about tonight is Kevin Rudd, the man. All of us in politics suffer enjoy great highs and often suffer great lows and setbacks. And I will never forget the day that you gave your press conference following your removal as Leader of the Labor Party by your colleagues. It is etched in my memory. It was one of the cruelest moments I've ever witnessed. I mean, I had lost the leadership of my own party, but frankly, in a dispute about policy. The current Prime Minister, the Prime Minister today, Member for Warringah and I, and varying members of the party, had a difference about policy, and it was resolved in a ballot. And it was well flagged, and we all knew we were bringing it to a head. It was something we had to resolve. It was, if you like, a very fair fight. The betrayal of you as leader of your party was one of the most shocking events I've ever witnessed, and I would think, Madam Speaker, any of us have ever witnessed in politics. The scale of it, the idea that the man that had won in this presidential campaign an election against John Howard was then going to be disposed of, discarded, like another course on a Lazy Susan in a Vietnamese restaurant. The cruelty of it was extraordinary. And I remember watching your wife, Therese Rain, standing there, as the political wives and husbands so often are, the mute spectator to the cruelty inflicted on their husband. As the Prime Minister has often said, and it is one of the truest things you've ever said, Prime Minister, all of us here are volunteers. Our spouses and families are conscripts. And the way your family stood by you is something that also will never be forgotten. But your resilience, your determination, derided by so many of your colleagues and by people in the media and by people on our side as well, but your resilience and your determination was, again, an example to all of us. And the member for Griffith was kind enough to refer to me as his friend, and I'm touched by that, Kevin, I really am. After you lost, we didn't have any relationship when I was Leader of the Opposition and you were Prime Minister, beyond the antagonistic one in this chamber. But after you lost the leadership, I did get to know you a lot better. Initially, I was very worried about you because I'd known how low I had sunk in a much less difficult loss of leadership, a much less difficult loss of leadership. I was very worried about you. And as I got to know you, I realised what an extraordinarily tough individual you are. Your determination is unequalled by anyone I've worked with in politics. I don't know anyone that is just so filled with energy and determination and a preparedness to overcome any setback. And that is a triumph of the human spirit. Even if we disagree about one policy or another, that is an extraordinary triumph of the human spirit, that you could overcome those setbacks, that betrayal that would have crushed so many other people. So, together with my colleagues, and indeed with yours, I salute you tonight. I thank you for your service to the people of Australia and to this Parliament. I wish you a long and happy life with Therese and your family, and as a fellow grandfather, I'm sure that you'll have a lot of wonderful time with your grandchild and indeed the many more grandchildren that are to come. Thank you very much, Kevin Rudd, for your service to Australia.